Well, I don't know. And Elena Kagan said that they didn't care. They voted the way that they did. So this is setting up. We are now in for a long period of religious persecution, and church-state acrimony and hostility and battles, and on and on and on. Repeat lawsuits, unlike anything you've ever seen. Yes.
So what are the elements of, let's start just with American society, that we could look to as exerting the maximum counter-influence over this wave of influence that we're in?
All you could is the next step for people who think like we do is to just get ready to fight this stuff legally. But you find out that when they have one judge that votes one way, they have a magical way of applying it in all 50 states.
But are there any leadership groups?
Yes. Well, they're out there.
What's the point of this?
It's probably going to come mainly from religious groups. It's not going to come from conservative groups, I'll tell you that. I've never had as much trouble getting op-ed pieces published when promoting a book as I have with this particular book. And all the usual groups that I go to, the conservative groups and organizations, all the talk shows that I do all the time, and anytime a new book comes out, I just email the producer or the talk show host himself, and hey, so-and-so, I won't say any first names, even that might give it away. My new book is out. I'd love to come in and talk about it. I won't harass you. You know how it is. I ask one time, and then they always, oh yeah, sure, Paul, here's some this time. It's like the howling winds of Siberia. No response. No response. They're all afraid. They're all afraid to touch this. They're all afraid of being called haters, of having their advertisers attacked and boycotted. So this is probably your only recourse is going to be church groups, and the left is going to make sure that the only slight legally available form of objection that you're going to be able to have to this constitutional right of gay marriage will be your religious faith. But even that, not going to work very well, especially when the Lutheran Church, my old church, Presbyterian Church USA, they're doing gay marriage now. The Episcopal Church, I think, right? So, yeah. So as soon as they all start doing it again, they're going to say, no, you're not a Christian. You're an intolerant, hating Christian, because all of these Christian groups are doing gay marriage. So you either get with it and go to a non-hating Christian denomination, or we're going to come after you too. Yeah, we're in big trouble, folks. We are really in big trouble. John.
Well, I was wondering if you could expand a little bit on what the Bolsheviks did to use sexual revolution and sexual libertinism as a vehicle to break down the institutions of society.
Yes.
I mean, one thing that a lot of people don't know about is the fact that they wanted to break down marriage early on, as part of the revolutionary process, so that in the first years of the Bolshevik regime entailed the nationalization of women.
Right.
Where your wife was now no longer your wife, she was everybody's woman, according to however it worked out. And it was then, after they had succeeded in breaking everything down, that they decided, when they had consolidated power, that it was time to restore sexual puritanism,
yes.
And gays were sent to the gulag.
Right.
I'm just wondering if you have any further reflections about this.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I have two chapters on this. One is just on the Bolshevik war on the family and the divorce rate and the abortion, how it got so out of control. And I even have a chapter of Fulton Sheen writing on this in 1948. And Sheen is amazed at how by the time he was writing Communism and the Conscience of the West in 1948, where he's going over the havoc and hell wreaked on the Russian family by these new laws, Sheen was able to write at that point that however, Stalin had banned abortion because it got so out of control. And divorce became the easiest thing in the world to do in Russia. I mean, if you wanted free speech or private property or freedom of assembly or freedom of religion, you couldn't do it. If you wanted a fur coat, you couldn't have it. If you wanted your own private bank account, you couldn't do it. But baby, if you wanted a divorce, the sky was the limit. Here's a postcard, write it down here and drop it off at the mailbox, you're done. They made divorce the easiest thing in the world. And abortion, too. They had 3,000 24/7 constant. This got so out of hand that not only did they crack down on it, but Sheen was quoting in his 1948 book, the Soviets started citing natural law. They're citing Aristotle and Augustine and Aquinas to argue the importance of the family, right? And it got that bad. But what happened was, after a few years of this, Khrushchev came in and said, "Look, are we going to be communists or not? Right? I mean, come on. If we're going to be communists, there's no such thing as natural law. Religion we hate. We've got to take down the family. You got to bring abortion. You need all of these different things." And so they brought them all back and it started working it. The sexuality stuff. Wilhelm Reich, one of the cultural Marxists, went there in the 1920s and complained that the Soviets, they were doing some good things on divorce and so forth, but they weren't allowing enough homosexuality, said Wilhelm Reich. And if you wanted to be a real revolutionary, he wrote this in his book, The Sexual Revolution, you needed to allow homosexuality, bisexuality, and everything else. And Wilhelm Reich, being a Frankfurt School cultural Marxist, along with Herbert Marcuse and these others, they combined Marxism with Freudianism. They said the missing ingredient in Marxist thought is Freud. We need to fuse Freud and Marx, and then we can really get the takedown that we need. And so for them, they were arguing that human beings are really naturally can have sex with either gender at any age and as early as 4 or 5, which is Wilhelm Reich writes about trying to have sex with a family nursemaid when they would share a bed together when he was 4 years old. And he was an interesting character. Well, I can't even have my students read that chapter. Wilhelm Reich was messing around with the farm animals, doing everything. I mean, he was sexually psychotic. He had some real issues going on there. So they argued that to be real revolutionaries, you needed, and that's where the 60s New Left picked all of this up. The Weather Underground said, you have to smash monogamy, and Bernardine Dohrn and the ladies said, a woman does not need a man, including for sex. And so women were to have sex with women. Mark Rudd and Bill Ayers both talk about, the importance of trying to have sex with the same sex. And Rudd, who was had an insatiable sexual desire, who slept with as many women as he possibly could, talks about doing his best to try to fondle his best friend JJ, but he said, these cultural inhibitions, man, they're just too much. Maybe it's biological, Mark. Did you think it has to be cultural? So he tried, but he couldn't. Bill Ayers, on the other hand, really, really, really tried, and Bill was able to pull it off. So he was able to have a bisexual sex, including regular sex with his best friend. He talks about that in his September 11th, 2001 interview in the New York Times. The one where he talked about, it's called No Regrets for a Love of Explosives, where Bill Ayers in September 11th, 2001, in the New York Times, talks about having no regrets for attacking the Pentagon in New York, back when they were in the Weather Underground. That's in the September 11th, 2001 New York Times. Read that interview. It's very, very enlightening. All right, I guess I better stop, right? 3 o'clock, good enough? I don't want to keep you good people too long. I'm sure I'm depressing all of you. And look, all you got to do is you live in this world, you try to make it a better place. And back on the point on charity, I'm supposed to have faith, hope, and charity. Well, Chesterton said that hope is about having hope when things seem hopeless. Right? Amen. Thanks.
Cool.